Thank you for joining this morning's session on BBB Connects. We are talking to some fantastic accredited businesses, and I've been looking forward to this discussion for some time. This webinar is being recorded, so if you have colleagues that are missing it, I know there's a lot of different events going on with Small Business Week, so feel free to share it, or if you're somebody like me that you like to be able to go back and listen to a webinar again, feel free to do that. You can do so with the recorded link. So our panel discussion this morning is on diversifying your business to attract new markets. And if there's one thing this year has taught us, it's the need to diversify and to constantly be looking at new markets and how can we make sure that we are attracting them. So in the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge that we live, work, and play on the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy, the Tsuut'ina and Lakota Nations, and the Métis Nation, and all people who make their homes in the Treaty 7 region of Southern Alberta. We acknowledge. Thank you for joining us. Today's presenters are Nate Edwards with Virtuo, Sharlene Massie with About Staffing, and Todd Richardson of Lexus Royal Oak. So welcome each of you for joining us today. I'm going to give a little bit of a bio on each of them, and then we're going to get right into some great questions. I have a few prepared, but obviously make sure that you're asking questions right on the chat. Sergio will be working with us to support that. And if there's anything that you need at any time, just let us know. So Nate Edwards is the co-founder of Virtuo, a Calgary-based technology company on a mission to liberate people from the painful human experience associated with moving and maintaining a home. Isn't that so true? Virtuo partners with home builders and mortgage lenders to streamline all of the critical elements of their home buying journey, from transferring utilities to moving boxes, TV mounting, mail forwarding, and so on. Virtuo reduces the 20 hours a home buyer spends on their transition to just a 10-minute call. Can you imagine having that time back? So awesome. Prior to starting Virtuo, Nate spent more than a decade in the moving and storage business, where he learned firsthand how consumers were left overwhelmed and stressed. No one was really owning the end-to-end experience in the market, and this fragmentation created a lack of accountability, ultimately leaving the customer stranded and not knowing who to trust. Virtuo has been solving this problem by bridging the gap between service providers and delivering peace of mind to the home buyer. Thank you, Nate. We also have Sharlene Massie. It's a familiar face that I know a lot of people know from watching the news. Sharlene's in the community all the time. Sharlene is the owner of About Staffing, an Alberta-based staffing and recruitment company that has been successfully placing candidates in permanent and temporary positions since 1996. Sharlene is best known for her down-to-earth approach, her laugh, and her ability to relate to just about everyone. She certainly did not intend on a lifelong commitment in the staffing industry when she graduated from MRU in public relations in 1990. But the employment industry is where her heart has taken her. She spends day to day helping candidates, clients, and her internal team find the same success. Sharlene leads by an example every day and is perpetually guided by the company's statements and core values, as is every one of her employees. These core values are enthusiasm, sincerity, stability, and loyalty. They are entrenched in the company's identity and are even displayed prominently around the office, acting as a constant reminder of what drives business. And if you haven't been to Sharlene's office, you should go check it out. It's fantastic. It's a great place. Sharlene's the proud recipient of the Business in Calgary Leaders Award in 2018. Thank you, Sharlene, for joining us. Todd Richardson. Todd is the general manager at Lexus of Royal Oak. Todd was born in the automotive industry and is a third-generation car dealer. His automotive career started out after grade 12, and he has taken on many roles, including sales manager, finance manager, inventory manager, and general manager. As a successful and respected auto dealer, Todd pays keen attention to fostering better relationships and relationships on the journey. He has been leading his team at Lexus of Royal Oak to develop and implement trailblazing value-added services to his clients. And Todd's going to talk to some of those initiatives during this call today. Since opening in 2014, Lexus of Royal Oak has won the prestigious Lexus Pursuit Award 3 out of the last 4 years. This award is only given to 9 of 35 Lexus dealers across Canada. That's fantastic, Todd, and quite an achievement. So thank you to each of you for joining us today. I'm going to invite Nate to just give a brief introductory statement about anything that I might not have covered, or just welcoming you on the call today.
Thanks, Mary. Yeah, excited to be here. I think you did a really great job, so thank you for that. I do just want to acknowledge, when we started Virtuo, I didn't really appreciate how much support there was throughout the business community. So, I'm just really excited to be here and participate in today's session.
Awesome. Fantastic. And over to you, Sharlene.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me today too. And I just want to acknowledge Todd as well for giving me a fantastic deal on a brand new Lexus just about 2 weeks ago. So thank you for that. I just want to say that I think, through the BBB as well as, just being a real supportive kind of business that we're in, relationships really make a difference. And I think that I just want to say, being around for almost my 25th anniversary of about staffing, that I don't think that I could do that without the relationships that have supported me through all these years of hardship.
Excellent. Thank you. We definitely see testament to relationships during this past year. And so it's great that you bring that up. And Todd, welcome you to today's call.
Morning, everybody. Very, very happy to be part of this panel. We opened up Lexus Royal Oak 7 years ago, and we spent a lot of time fostering businesses and being involved with the community. We enjoy a lot of relationships. Sharlene, she's bought her 3rd Lexus from us, but just an example of being involved with other businesses. And BBB has a lot of different values that I think in today's world, we all have to try and live up to in order for all of us to be better. And that's something that we strive for every day. Last 7 years has been challenging. We opened up, so that would have been 2014, Valentine's Day. And then about six months later, there was the oil crash, but it certainly taught us to be a lot more resilient. And I think there's a saying about opening up a business when times are tough. It's just going to make you stronger for when things turn around. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us, Todd. And that's so true. And, we've talked a lot, or we've heard a lot about pivoting and resilience, especially over this past year. And I know each of you have different stories on this, and I'd love to start off today's discussion on that. Let's talk about resilience for a little bit. Sharlene, why don't you kick us off and just tell us a little bit about your journey and what resilience has meant to you. I know you've sort of seen everything from floods to vehicles driving in your building. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, and funny story about that. A few years ago, we had a car drive through our office, and it was the office that I sit in. And just on the news a couple of weeks ago, there was another car that drove through 707 10th Avenue through that office. That used to be my office before the office that the car drove through a few years ago. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm doomed. People want to drive through whatever office I'm in. And so this time I'm on the 2nd floor, no more cars driving through. But that's just one thing that happens. And I want to say that, resilience, no matter what the reason is why you start a business, I think resilience is being able to get up the next day and, you have to work in this kind of environment day by day, because planning, you can try and have as many business continuity plans as you can think of. You can have insurances. You can try to have contingency plans for everything, but there's always going to be something crazy that will happen that you would have never thought of. And so I think resilience is just being able to stick to your values no matter what is happening. And then if you're a good person and you do good work and you have good, strong relationships, then you'll be able to survive, whatever those crazy things are. If you heard all the stories I have, you would think I'm really mentally deficient, because there's so many of them. But I think that's typical for so many business owners that you just get up and you work the next day. And then something happens, you get up and you work the next day. And to me, that's what I think resilience is.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks for that, Sharlene. And Nate, when we look at resilience in your industry, I know when you started, from our discussions that we've had earlier, I know that when you first launched Virtuo, you definitely had some pivoting that you needed to do, and required a whole different set of resiliency skills. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so we've had the highs and lows of a typical tech startup. When our go-to-market strategy was almost a death sentence, really. When we launched our business, we were really focused on the actual real estate transaction. So when we launched, our model was let's analyze thousands of real estate transactions, and we would actually match buyers and sellers of real estate with realtors who are statistically proven to sell homes faster and for more money. We would then acquire that customer, match them with the realtor, and the realtor would actually pay us to deliver this end-to-end move-in experience on behalf of the consumer. So it was all free to the end user. We launched, my models predicted that we would be fully capitalized in the first year and everything would be great. And it wasn't. It was the furthest thing from the truth. I was naive enough to think that, I could just continue to spend a bunch of money into marketing and people would come. And really, it came down to understanding that our acquisition model really didn't make sense. We were solving this really ugly move-in journey, except we were trying to acquire a customer way over here. So, we were trying to match them with a realtor, and quite frankly, people don't really need support finding a real estate agent. So our model didn't make sense. We still believed in that overall end-to-end experience, and we didn't believe moving should be so painful. So, fortunately, we started looking at other channels, and the builder industry actually really understood the problem that we were trying to solve. So quickly, we pivoted from serving that private consumer and then aligning ourselves with, the home building industry, the lending industry, people that understood the problem that we were trying to solve time and time again. And, fortunately for us, we found product market fit. And once that worked, we, turned off everything that wasn't working and just went all in on that strategy.
Yeah, that's excellent, Nate. This morning to kick off Small Business Week, Maria Martinello, our Director of Sales and Marketing, she did a talk on business planning and setting up your strat planning and really going through that process of doing your SWOT analysis and being really honest with it. Because I think sometimes we see, as entrepreneurs, we get so committed, we want it so bad, that it's very easy to lose sight of, we might want it, but if the market doesn't want it, then we need to change our model. And Nate, that's really a great example of how you were able to really let go. And I want to talk about letting go of verticals and switching, but first I want to circle over to Todd. And Todd, what can you tell us? I mean, the car industry, the auto industry as a whole, has really seen a lot of struggles over the last number of years, and for sure during your time in the business. I want to talk about resilience, not only in the auto industry, but also as a third generation. That in and of itself is really rare and poses different challenges as well when it's that generational business. So what can you tell other entrepreneurs about what resilience might look like through that lens too?
Yeah, interesting that you should bring up the generational thing, Mary, because so my father's father, he started a business in Vulcan, and then my dad got involved in the dealership business in Calgary, and he's the founder of Charles Glenn Toyota. And after running Charles Glenn for my dad for 14 years, Lexus came along and wanted another dealer in Calgary, so put up our hand and we vied for that, and we were fortunate enough to get it. But so all dealers are independently owned. There's a lot of people that think that the manufacturer owns the dealerships. So we all have to come with our own devices and try and make a business out of things. And like I said, the last 7 years has been interesting. So the biggest thing and we call them guests, not customers. The biggest thing for them is their time. And everybody's time these days is just so important. And so we put some various things together at our dealership. One of our claims to fame is we have a royal lounge. And so we have a manicure and pedicure station. And so people can come in for service. They don't pay for it. And so they can get a manicure or pedicure. And I think Sharlene's probably had one of those. But
Not lately.
yeah. So it's something that people enjoy. And then we also have loaner vehicles. And so that certainly cuts down on the stress. Or else we'll even go and pick up their vehicle from their house anywhere in Calgary. And so those are some of the things that have made things a little bit easier for us. So you're always got to be thinking ahead. I know that when we were building the store, and the idea of having this lounge was like nobody had that. And so, you always got to be thinking, and all because people are thinking, people might be saying, even our contractor, like, why would you want to do that? It's just an extra expense. Mm-hmm. You always got to be weighing those factors. And so that's that point. What else was I going to bring up? Anyways, that's that part of it.
Yeah, that's excellent, Todd. And I know Sharlene has raved to me about some of those services before, and also with her reason for buying another Lexus from you too. So that's exciting though. But you do bring up a really good point, because when we look at introducing new products and services to the market, it's not without some risk, and it's not without fear. And I think as I look at our 4,000 accredited businesses, I think the one thing that they all have in common is that they face fear and oftentimes find a way to do it anyway. And that's really important during Small Business Week, is to think about how we overcome those fear and keep moving forward. And so you talked about that, Todd, with introducing new products and services and maybe some of the naysayers. What other strategies do you think maybe you could recommend to business owners if they are looking at introducing new products and services, putting in a lounge or whatever that might look like? What are some strategies that you might offer to them?
I was fortunate enough because like I mentioned, I'll bring up my following. My dad had a really tough time back in the early 80s, and he sort of bit the dust and then came around. So I've got a conviction myself that not everybody gets, that if you have the wherewithal and you're going to work hard and a good work ethic, that it's going to work out. But I guess the other thing is, I always ask myself, what's the worst that can happen? And it's been said time and time again that going through a difficult time and then making it out the other end is a lot more valuable than just you as a business owner than just being on easy street when you open up open up the business. And so, I look at that as, as a value that I have. One of the other values that we have at our store is being progressive. We embrace the future with ideas and passion, and we will always encourage our team to be the same. So that's something that we do. Another unique thing, every Friday we have, it's called a Lexus Circle. So we will get our staff of 55 people. Not everyone can attend, but we'll just spend a quick 10 minutes and we'll just talk about the day. We'll talk about, Mr. and Mrs. Smith came in and bought their third Lexus. If they come in, congratulate them. It allows all your staff to sort of congregate and just talk about things. And that's, internally, that's a factor that we have that's, I think, a little bit unique as well. One thing I'll just leave you with, though, and it's my internal credo, and it's something, I don't mention it to our guests all the time, but the sale's not the end of the transaction, but the beginning of our obligation to you. And that's something that's important.
I love that. I'm actually writing it down because it's so true. Sales is not the end of the transaction, but the beginning of our obligation. So true. I love that, Todd. You made a few really, really great points there. And when I think about that culture of being able to come together on Fridays and talk about the wins and the losses, I think anytime that we're looking at introducing new products, services, or anything that we're doing, having that culture with your team engaged is really key. And Sharlene, I know that you have done such an incredible job of building culture. You've done some talks with us on culture. When you've rolled out products and services, what type of strategies have you engaged? I know you've recently rolled out some different services, and obviously had to engage some different strategies to do so.
Yeah, we did. We also have a Friday meeting, every Friday staff meeting we've had, I think, for over 20 years, no matter what. So whether it was, through the flood and we were doing it in my house, or, we do it on Zoom or whatever, as things change, we continue to do that. So every Friday from 12 to 1, we have our staff meeting. And, sometimes really the focus is KPIs. The numbers matter. Numbers always matter, no matter what else is going on. You still have to deal with numbers. And so, sometimes it's that. Sometimes it's return on investment. Sometimes it's just about the culture and the values, and what are your values today? Who exhibited the best of our 4 core values this week, whether it was a customer or a candidate, that kind of thing. So I really, I believe in that consistency with your team and trying to lead a team, however that looks. With this flood or with the COVID situation, we opened about staffing in 1996, and we specialized in office placements, temporary and direct hire. Most agencies pick one, but we did both. And then in 2012, so just before the flood of 13, we opened up a light industrial division. So a brand new company about staffing industrial. And we hit the market with industrial temporary and industrial direct hire. Again, something unique. And then in March, this March, I thought I have an idea. I think it's a great idea. I don't know for sure if it's a great idea, but I think it's a good idea. And my team needed something to do because, in March, April, May, June, July, August, there's no hiring going on here. So what do we do to deal with that? Other than some very difficult positions to fill, the business tanked, 76% or something like that. I think it was 76.4%. So what do I do with my team? How do I keep my team? And how do I implement a new idea that I think is brilliant? And really took the chance and opened up a new company called Job Shift which is to help guide, the unemployed people out there through to employment in 7 easily guided shifts with exercises. It's a membership platform, very affordable, $5 a month for people. But what really happened there behind the scenes is we pivoted 1,000 times in that 7 months. And we got into the tech business. And we also got into a business that's extremely scalable. Not only across Canada, that's my first goal, because yay, Canada, but scalable globally too. And my team they just bit into it. And everyone came to the table when they were in a position of fear. A staffing agency, what are we going to do? Well, industrial was pretty busy, but the rest of it wasn't. So what do you do? But the people got super involved and really sunk their teeth into this new idea that was in La La Land. There's nothing like this that exists anywhere that we could find anywhere on the planet. So I have a new idea. That's, to me, a culture driver. They all came to the table. I gave them a job to do. We figured it out. We mushed it together. We changed it. And then we launched it August the 10th. So it's a very, very new business. And who would have thought at my age that, I'm not looking at stepping away. Instead, what do I add? Another business, a big one, potentially. And so without my team, I couldn't have done it. I can't do it by myself. And from my team's perspective, they needed a leader to say, yes, we can do it. Let's try it. Worst case scenario, like Todd said, if it fails, I lose some money. But you know what? We stayed busy and we stayed positive and we stayed together, and my whole team is still here. So I think that's what I'd have to say about that.
Yeah, that's excellent. And I think the best stories really come from, when it's very easy to go, well, the market's doing this, I'll just wait it out and see what happens. It doesn't make for a very exciting story at the end of it. And Nate, you continue to have stories. I know you've continued to focus on new markets and expansions and stuff. I'll ask the same question to you. What type of strategies do you employ? It's funny because as I'm thinking it, all 3 of you, knowing and working with you in different capacities, I know all of you really value culture in your organizations, and all of you really have winning cultures. And so that's really interesting to me. But Nate, I'll turn it over to you and I'll ask you just the same, what type of strategies have you used when you've introduced either new markets, new products, new services in your business?
Yeah, I'll address the new market. So, for us, we actually just opened our 6th market. So we're pretty excited about that. We just entered the US. So we're in Southern California as about a month and a half ago. So really, really exciting times for us. That being said, what we did when we started scaling our business across the country was really looking at, what we learned when we first launched our business. And, one thing that I would take away was, anyone can start up with a flashy website and a colorful logo and have a decent ad spend. And the reality is that doesn't give you the trust in the marketplace that you need. So, what we ended up doing was we were operating from a really lean methodology, if you will. So as a tech startup, there's a lot of ramen noodles in your life and you just do what you got to do in order to keep this thing going. And, we ended up applying some of those lean methodologies. So instead of investing in a big PR campaign, investing in a big VP of sales or, a business development representative in a new market, what we ended up doing was, the leadership team just got on the phone and we started aligning ourselves with, some of those target customers that had some similarities to some of our existing accounts here. And, we did that from home, we did that from the office. So it was really about optimizing and maximizing our time. And, we would go to those new markets and we would fly out as many times as possible. But I can promise you hotels and flights are far less expensive than hiring a BD person. But long story short, once we actually, landed a big account, that's when we started to expand. So, we aligned ourselves with that big account. We achieved some initial sales success. We mobilized our operations, we dialed in our supply chain, and only then did we invest in someone to really help support that market and drive new opportunities. So it was a kind of a sneaky way into scaling our business.
Yeah, that's interesting, Nate. And I referenced the webinar first thing this morning that Maria did, and she talked a little bit about, as an entrepreneur and a business leader, oftentimes we get in that mode where we feel like we need to be all the experts in our business, right? Like, we need to be the accountant, we need to be the marketer, we need to be the HR, we need to be everything. And the fact of the matter is, we can't. And as business leaders, we can't. And there does come a point where we need to pivot and realize, I need to bring in outside resources. I need to seek counsel from others. I need to lean on others and really let go of those egos or those expectations that we put on ourselves. And so you talked about that, Nate. You talked about when you knew it was the right time to be able to really bring in other people to your team. What else can you add into that about maybe business leaders or entrepreneurs that might be struggling? So not so much just about the dollar, but feeling that need that they need to have to do everything themselves.
Yeah, I would say to that, one of the things that I found a lot of solace in was really, aligning myself with someone in, the business community. So someone who's going through a similar situation, their business was at a similar stage as us. And, just being really transparent and really vulnerable with that person and, giving them insight as to what was happening within my business. I don't believe that, a specific hire is a silver bullet to, all of our business challenges. It's really kind of understanding the bigger picture. So, just working with almost a mentor, if you will, to, get deeper insights how they've handled those situations, the good, the bad, the ugly, and really not so much seeking advice, but those conversations really help me frame out my thoughts to get us through our own business obstacles. So it was, again, really aligning myself with someone who's going through something similar, and it's helped me tremendously.
Yeah, thanks for that, Nate. I think it reminds me of a quote, and those that know me know that I always mess up quotes. I never get them right. But there is something that is, we don't arrive at a place of leadership, we grow into it. And we don't do that alone. We do that because of mentors and really using the resources and the people around us. So Todd, I'll ask you, how can you expand on that? How difficult is it in an industry like the automotive industry? And you might not know, but I did work for a stint in the automotive industry. I know how difficult it is. It's a constant grind, a constant push, and very, very competitive. How difficult is it for you to be able to, or maybe when you first started, to be able to allow yourself to be vulnerable and work with mentors and be able to learn from others in that industry? Was that difficult, or how did you approach that?
Well, hey, I didn't know that you were in the car business. You probably sold cars, didn't you?
No, I didn't. But I could sell a Lexus.
You sure could. But no, so when we open up this Lexus Royal Oak, my wife, she's been by my side for 28 years, and so she helped me with a lot of the things. And she still works here today, not every day, but she's been really instrumental in, helping out with the staff. She's very vivacious and everything, and she's a warm person. And so she's been my confidant in a lot of things. I'm also a member of TEC, which stands for the Executive Committee, and they're sort of worldwide organization. So there's 12 people that I work with every month, and we meet for one day every month. And so I think when you're in business for yourself, you do need to find someone that you can rely on. I also have partners that I'm involved with here at Lexus Royal Oak, so that also helps. but you do need someone to be able to sound things off of. And you also, I think with the way things are today, is you have to be working with your staff and be consultative rather than authoritative in everything that you do, because there's a lot of ideas out there and things are changing so fast. And especially when it comes to computers, like the younger generation, they can do 10 times as much as I can do on a computer. So there's a lot of respect there.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Todd. I've met your wife and I agree. She's absolutely lovely. And speaking of spouses, Sharlene, I know that, obviously I know Corey. He's a long-standing accredited businesses. But let's talk about your resources in your network. How difficult has it been for you as a woman in business starting out? I think your story, you've only had a few dollars in your pocket when you started out your business. How difficult was it for you to be able to allow yourself to be vulnerable and seek out mentors and leaders to support you?
Yeah, thanks, Mary. I actually had less than a few dollars. I had a big hole in my pocket. I think I started with $500 overdraft when I started the business. Not a great way to try to payroll people when you've got negative $500 to start with. But, over the years, we've been in a position of negative and positive and negative and positive and negative and positive. It's like a daily occurrence over here. Depending on what's happening in the marketplace. There's only ever two markets. There's either too many candidates for the jobs available, or there's too many jobs for the candidates available. That's the only two there are ever. So I live in that world of needing support. And I also belong to tech. So that's interesting, Todd. I've been in a tech group as well for, I think, 8 years. And it's been a great help to me to have other business people that I can talk to. I found that when I was on the board with BBB too, that really helped. I met some great friends and people that I can rely on, go for lunch with or make a phone call to, which is great. So I think there's a lot. In my family, we have a very entrepreneurial family as well. My husband's a contractor, owns his own company. His company does well, typically, when mine isn't, and vice versa. So that's kind of an interesting scenario in our house. One is very stressed out and one isn't, and then it goes back and forth every day. But I have 3 sons. 2 of them are also very entrepreneurial. One of them owns his own marketing company. One has his own tech CRM that he's built. That's Chris, and he works with me here as well. And he's actually vice president of JobShift. That came all together really well that way. So even in my own family, I think that we have probably ample support of issues, people to talk to about issues. I think the biggest thing that I've had to learn there, though, is that triangle, Tech Chair used to talk a lot about, was the triangle needs to be self first, family second, and work third. And in entrepreneurial families and business owners, I think it's very difficult to get that right. I think that business owners in particular put work first, family second, and self last. And I think trying to continually work on making sure that you're looked after, that your health and your well-being is first. That's where I think you need people to support you in all aspects of your life, not just the business piece, because that comes first in all of our crazy business world, but trying to figure out the support that you need in all the areas of your life. I think that's the most crucial thing.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Thanks for that, Sharlene. I want to pivot a little bit, and I just want to talk about verticals. And I know, Nate, we talked about that when you had to switch from sort of your B2C market to your B2B market. Any of you, and I'll open it up to any of you, how difficult is it when you're operating in one vein and you have to completely switch lanes? How difficult is that to do? And is there an emotional attachment when you're holding on to the business? Is there an emotional attachment to be able to pivot and offer something different? Sharlene, maybe you can speak to that.
I don't know if I'm the best one to talk about it because I have not done it very well. I'm very stubborn, and over the years, people have told me to pick a specialty in our business. I need to pick one thing that we do and work with that. And I've never believed that that was the right thing for us to do. So we've always just done what I think is the right thing to do, and not necessarily done the right job of pivoting where we maybe should change direction or could change direction. It's worked because we're still here, but I'm sure my stubbornness has something to do with that. This third pivot, I mean, it is, we were very lucky to have hit COVID in order to allow us the time to invest in getting something new built very quickly and to market very quickly. We did have, of course, a business plan, and I did present it to my groups that I belong to and the support that I have. First to say, am I crazy? I think this is a good idea. But very, very quickly, the Nike motto, just do it, has worked pretty good for us. And we have had lots of failures. We franchised before. We opened in different markets. Those all failed. Those did not win. So sometimes I make the decision to do something and it does not work. And sometimes I make the decision to do something and it does work and works better than I thought. So I have to take the chances, I guess, as a leader to just try things out. And if they work, great. And if they don't, I just have to accept the responsibility for that too.
Yeah, and that's a great point. Todd or Nate, how can you touch on that, on maybe, times in business where things haven't worked out the way you wanted to? You've introduced something, maybe it's a market and some would consider it a failure, others would consider it a learning opportunity. How have you dealt with that?
I should be able to come up with a few. One of the biggest things that's talked about in our industry is like online sales and, putting sort of your whole dealership online. Mm-hmm. We tempted to do, I was going to shift in a big way towards, having an online sales team, and to where you just pay a certain amount of staff and all they do is sit at home. And so we started going down that road, and, the industry changed a little bit. This wasn't long ago, just during COVID. But at the end of the day, after doing some research and a few surveys, people still wanted to come in and look at cars. And even right now today, people don't want to have that social contact, such as us going to their house. There's not as big a thing to do about that as, the media might portray. Mm-hmm. So I guess you have to have an open enough mind to say, okay, let's tempt it, but let's do some research too.
Yeah. Yeah, excellent. Thanks for that, Todd. So speaking of COVID, what has been, and we'll move over to you, Nate, on this, what's been your biggest takeaway or learning opportunity? Maybe something that happened as a result of COVID. Sharlene talked about, the fact that it just presented the opportunity. It was sort of like this big pause button on everything. What has COVID meant to you, Nate?
Yeah, you know what, COVID, and I don't want to downplay the awful impact it's had on, hundreds of thousands of people, but, we've been pretty optimistic about the opportunities that it presented to us. And, as we started looking at how we could pivot, we always looked at it from the lens of that consumer. So that end user of someone actually going through that painful experience. So, that's one of the paths that we followed. So once we started talking to our accounts, we started to get a better understanding of, how people transition to that new home, but then once they're actually in the home. So we've ended up bolting on some home services. So basically what we're doing now is, we're creating that simplicity of condo living, and we've applied that to single family home ownership. And to be honest, I don't think we would have gone down that path if it wasn't for COVID. So it was really about enhancing that value proposition to the end user, and then taking it back to our accounts, getting into discovery sessions and start understanding what their pain points were. And, if there was things that we could do through technology that would drive value back to, our builder partners or our lender partners, so they can save some money, yet really enhancing that overall experience to the end user. That was our path. And, it was a gamble. As soon as COVID happened, it was just like, stop selling. Let's just figure out how we can start delivering more value. And that was our approach. And it worked out well for us.
It's excellent. Thanks for that, Nate. And you're right. I certainly wouldn't want to be downplaying the impact of COVID. I do find it really interesting speaking with business owners, how, there has definitely been a path of success and aha moments that have come out of COVID, whether it be directly in the business or just in your own leadership and your own outlook. Sharlene, obviously you spoke about the creation of Job Shift. Anything else that sort of came from COVID, maybe as a leader, that's been your biggest takeaway from it?
I would say a couple of things. One is cash is king.
Yeah.
People have been telling me that for years, and I could never quite get that right. But that really is going to make or break your business at the end of the day. If you don't have enough financial support in whatever way, whether it's a good banker or whatever it might be for you, I can't see that you could do anything without having some, an excellent reputation, and you got to have, some cash. It just otherwise isn't going to matter. And also, the world is really small. I think we're all pretty sucked into the entire world today, rather than just our own hometown. The world is small, and that creates a lot of possibilities. It also can drag you down pretty quickly if you're watching the COVID news all the time. So pulling yourself out of that and trying to look at it like the world is full of opportunities, versus just, the negative media on COVID. I think that's crucial as well for leaders, to bring in the positiveness every day to work, and that the world is small. We need a vaccine. Everyone does in the world. It's not one place. And whatever other business opportunities we all may, be able to create and think of, I think that's going to be a big thing to take away.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Thanks for that, Sharlene. Todd, I'm going to circle this question over to you. Today's topic was on diversifying business to attract new markets. And I feel like we've sort of talked about everything from culture to leadership. And I've loved it. I've loved the conversation. Small Business Week is really about celebrating business owners and entrepreneurs and understanding the sacrifice that they make every single day to keep their doors open. At no time has that been more important than through this COVID time, where we've really seen that impact on small business, where some weren't allowed to operate and some were operating right away. In general, though, Todd, as we're looking at Small Business Week, what advice do you have for maybe a new startup or an entrepreneur in the market today?
Good question. I think I'm going to take it back to Sharlene and her cash is king.
Yeah.
She said a few things that just sort of dawned on me. The world is small, so you need to have a reputation with banks, and they need to know you and your work ethic, and that you're going to be successful. So you need a confidence and a conviction. And I've been fortunate enough to have partners with me, during my foray into the business world. And so confidence. The other thing is, especially during COVID, be willing to be vulnerable in front of your staff. Your staff are the ones that are gonna make you or break you. And so involve them in all the decisions all the major decisions that you're going to make. Because ultimately, opening a business today, it's about who you're going to have working with you. And, it's something that comes up, and my dad and, others have brought it up, but, and it comes up every once in a while, but it's, when you're bringing someone on, it's having them work with you rather than for you. And it's a little thing, and I don't even know why I might be bringing it up right now, but it's about the way things are today, and that we're all a team. And so that's why I bring that up.
Excellent. I love that. Thanks, Todd. Thanks for sharing that. Sharlene, over to you. Advice that you would have for a new entrepreneur or startup?
I would say, don't wait for perfection. So I think that you can make a good plan. You can try some things out. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Plan to pivot or change when necessary. Protect your credit. Like, what we were saying about with Todd and the banks, it's going to be very difficult to start a business if you don't have, some really solid relationships. But at the same time, you have to really, protect your own credit, your own credit score, because I don't think that, you can't even open a bank account today unless you've got, that backing in some way, whether it's cash or credit or whatever. So I would say make sure that's in place first, and try some things out, and don't be afraid to change on a dime.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Sharlene. That's excellent advice. Nate, we'll round it out to you. Advice that you might have?
Yeah, cash culture, all of those things, super, super important. I think one thing, is really, as you start to get going, it's just really create those deeper and more meaningful relationships with your first customers. And really, there's so much you can actually learn with what's happening and how you're interacting with them. And it really will help carve out your path moving forward. And, especially during COVID, there's a lot going on, and everybody's facing adversity, and there's a lot to learn by listening. And, if you have those deep, meaningful relationships with your first key customers, the more they can be real with you, the more you can actually translate that into value. So, yeah.
Awesome. Excellent. Thank you for that, Nate. That's excellent. So we are about 10 minutes to 12. I'm going to turn it over to Sergio, because I want to take a look at the chat and see what questions we might have. If you have any questions for any of the panelists, please go ahead and ask that in the chat. And Todd, Sharlene, and Nate, I'm also going to circle back to you as we go through the Q&A on just if there's anything that we haven't covered. We've covered so much, and it's been fantastic. But if there's anything that we haven't covered that you still want to mention, we're going to allow time for that too. Sergio, I'll turn it over to you if you can let me know if there's anything in the chat.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Mary. We do have a few comments here. First, from Adhala, I hope I'm not butchering that, but it says, Sharlene, do you believe in hat tricks? And it's a little haha.
I better believe in hat tricks. This is my third one. Business. Let's hope this is the one.
Perfect. Now, we do have another question, and this one will be for everyone to address. When you come up with a new idea or when you're pivoting, how do you get it out to the masses? How do you advertise? Not only about throwing money to it, but how do you think it should be better to be known for? Do you use word of mouth?
I'll take that one. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead. I was going to say we do a little bit of everything. We've got great relationships with media from a long-standing history we have here. We've done a lot of digital work and a lot of social media now. I have very lucky to have hundreds of thousands of contacts in my database through About Staffing that I can work with to support the third business, the job shift business, to get me started. But that's pretty much it for us.
Nate?
Yeah, for us, it's, similar. I'd actually ask the question to the panel, because we've had some successes, but by no means do I say that, we've got a solid playbook or a foundation where it makes sense all the time, 100% of the time. PR has worked really, really well, but really talking to our customers and picking up the phone and understanding if there is product market fit with them first before we invest a single dollar into, broadcasting that message has been successful. I would love to hear other strategies to get it into market faster. But that being said, it's just, marketing it's interesting, and, I don't believe there's a one size fits all model.
Excellent. Thanks, Nate.
I can add, Mary, because I've been in the car business for so long. I can remember yesteryear of everything was on radio and in the newspaper. Mm-hmm. Got very expensive very quick. And, today I still do the radio. I believe you still need to invite people, especially to a newer place. And then follow it up with, digital, and have a really good CRM system, obviously. Further to Nate's point earlier, your first guests or your first customers that are going to start dealing with you, they're often the people that you can reach out to and just ask them questions, because they are certainly willing, to give good feedback, because they're often the people that they're going to be your closest allies in business.
Great. Thank you very much for that. Really good strategies. Mm-hmm. We have another question here. Cash flow is very essential to be resilient and move on. And this one is for you, Sharlene. Was that a factor in your favor?
Yeah, cash flow. So I've had to be very careful with budgeting, because I had set some very specific parameters, because there's virtually no cash flow in job shift yet. And because the model is to try to change everyone's lives in the country as quickly as possible, to teach them the strategies to find the right job for them. It's brand new, $5 a month. I'm not going to get rich off of that very quickly. So I've had to certainly be very careful about protecting the business about Staffing Ltd. and protecting the business about Staffing Industrial, while, choosing how much I can invest in the new venture as well. So cash flow is absolutely crucial, and I watch it every single day. So I look at my finances every week. So I'm very, very careful about expending too much cash while I'm trying to change the world. So it's a difficult place to be, but because I believe in it so much, I am investing money into the new job shift. But I'm very, very, very cognizant of cash flow.
Perfect. Thank you for that. We have another comment here. It says, I love what Todd is saying about working with staff and being consultative. Great point. And that was Maria.
Yeah. Excellent. So as promised at the start, I want to make sure that we allow a couple of minutes here just to circle back. Nate, we'll start with you. Anything that perhaps that we haven't covered off in today's discussion that you wanted to touch on?
Hang on, sorry, I was on mute.
No,
I think competition, we're starting to see it happen more and more. And, for us, it's how do we compete? And one of the thought process that we had is really about, setting the bar on customer experience versus setting ourselves apart with features and benefits. and how we do that is actually through our people. So, our team really are the people. They're our secret weapon, and they're the ones who actually advocate on those buyers, and they're the ones that deliver that experience. So, some of the competition that we're starting to see is, some technology companies with very similar offerings. And, that being said, it's mostly all tech and some really great looking tech, but we don't believe that, that move-in piece can be solved through tech alone. It's a highly emotional journey. And, so everything that we do is all about, that end user experience and how can we elevate that. And if we can create those raving fans with our existing customer base, they almost become our own marketing engine, if you will. So we've had some success that way. So we haven't really been focused on, defense strategies from other competitors. It's really been focusing on just delivering better experiences, and we shouldn't have to worry about that competitive landscape.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Nate. Todd, over to you. Anything that you want to make sure that we're left with today?
I guess, and I just ran into this today, it's very busy. The last 2 weeks has been busy because everyone wants to get their winter tires on their car right away.
Yes.
And so with COVID, sometimes you'll have staff away. And I guess the one thing with our store and with most companies is there's the need to, we have a separate individual that goes in and cleans people's cars, disinfects them before we even get into it. And so what it's did to our business is we can't quite get as much throughput every day. And so one thing that I have told our staff is we have to educate our guests. And we have, if someone might be disappointed that they can't get in for 10 days, we have to be forward thinking enough to at least let them know why and educate them. So that's something that we can't forget about.
That's very valuable information, Todd. Thanks for sharing that. Sharlene, how about yourself? Anything that we haven't covered that you want to make sure that we cover off today? I know you have a presentation later on this afternoon too.
I do, I think like in an hour.
Yeah.
I just want to say that, and actually the presentation this afternoon, I'm doing it all about the stories of my clients. I have very little to talk about myself. And this next one, I'm bringing in the stories of my clients that I hear about every day. So that's going to be very different than this one. All I want to say is that, through multiple recessions, starting in a deficit, going through a flood, now COVID, there's so many things that can hit you in a business. I think the main thing though, all the way through, is to stick with your values, and don't compromise on your values, because that is, if you can bring yourself back to reality at any point in stressful situations, to what those values are, don't be breaching those, and making sure that that's very clear with your customers, as well as your staff, your vendors, and everybody that you're working with on a day-to-day basis. It'll carry you through every possible situation that you may come across.
That's excellent. Thank you for that, Sharlene. When I think of the discussion that we've had, and I think of all of you and your businesses, all of you really created opportunities and took action. And I see that to really be common in so many great entrepreneurs and so many great success stories. What you've shared today, though, is just a little bit deeper into that vulnerability and some of that fear and some of that push through and stick with itness in order to really get there. And I admire each of you for the journeys that you've had and your ability to be able to reach outside of yourself, lean into your system around you, and really face that fear and continue to do it anyway, as they say. So Sergio, anything else come in on the Q&A there that we want to cover off?
Just thank yous.
Thank yous. Excellent. Well, it's good to have thank yous. So Sharlene, Nate, Todd, Thank you so much. Really appreciate the conversation. It's been great learning, a little bit more about each of you and having that lens into the path that you guys have had that have made you successful entrepreneurs. I appreciate you sharing your time, and we've got a great week ahead of us still. We've just kicked off Small Business Week this morning with Maria Martinello doing our sales or our business planning, our strategic planning. We talked a little bit about cash flow this morning. We've talked about marketing. We've talked about culture. All of those pieces are going to be covered during Small Business Week. So if you have some time, jump on bbb.org. You can register for any of those events. We've got other panel discussions coming up and other webinars. It's a great time to educate yourself. It's a great time to inform yourself. And it's a really great time to build community. We might not be able to get in person, but we can still connect. And that's my commitment to you, is through this BBB Connect. And Todd, I don't have my glasses, so I don't know what you're pointing at.
Let's not
love
forget
local.
to
Love
support
local. Yes, I can see you, but I couldn't see that. So yes, love local. And that's what we want to do this week, is really show our love for local, get out there, support local, find different ways to do so. We have all been through a tough few months, but we come out on the other end and we do it together. So thank you, all of you. Thank you to all of you who attended this morning's call. Enjoy your afternoon. As I said, jump on to bbb.org. We've got some great events coming up. And we also have networking coming up next week that Maria and our Accredited Businesses team has put together. So look for that. If you don't follow us on social media, please do, because we've got lots of great information. And as always, we're always featuring our accredited businesses, which is each of you. So thank you for that. We will wrap things up, and I look forward to seeing each of you at our other events through the week. Have a great Small Business Week.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.